Hey folks, Simon here from Velo Performance. Now this week, what I thought I'd talk about is how I coach my cyclists online, because actually it's quite interesting and this is how I make my living. I don't do anything else. I coach people online. So what does that involve? Who do I coach? How do I do it? And what do the cyclists get out of being part of Velo Performance? Without further ado, as I like to say, let's get into it. Now let's start with the basics. I'm an online coach, which means I coach people online over the internet, and I deliver their training programs and help them understand about nutrition within the groups that I run. And the cool thing about this is that it doesn't matter where you are in the world, I can help you. The great thing is I've got people here in the UK, because I'm based here in the UK. I've got people in Australia, I've got people in Dubai, and I've got people I coach in America. And that's what's really cool. The internet has helped me bridge the gap of being able to just be located in the UK to globally. And that's what's great about being an online coach. I can help anybody if they're looking to be better on their bike, and it doesn't matter where you are in the world. Now, I think it's a good idea to talk about the people that I coach. Now, if you look at anything that I do on social media and on my website, it says I coach cyclists hitting 40 plus to help them be better on their bike, learn more about nutrition, and basically be a better cyclist on and off the bike. But in actual fact, the people that I coach are anywhere from about 30 up the way, right up to, well, the oldest guy that I'm coaching at the moment is 65. If you look at any of my social media or my website, on first glance, you might think that actually with the name Velo Performance, I focus on cyclists who are trying to race, do road races and things like TTs. But in actual fact, that's far from the case. The majority of cyclists that I coach are from the ages of 30 up the way, who want to get as fit and as fast as they can for the next sportive or their cycling event or a holiday that they've always wanted to go. Now, yeah, okay, look, some of them do race, but that's not why they first started wanting to work with me. My coaching is designed to help cyclists train in a way that gets them to get strong on the bike, be fast, and build their cycling engines to be in a really good position physically to take on pretty much any challenge they set themselves throughout the year. To give you an idea of what some of my cyclists are focusing on, so some of them are aiming for the 312 next year, or a European sportive like the Marmot, and one of them is focusing on building his power and his peak fitness to break under 55 minutes for Alpe d'Huez. That, I think, is a brilliant challenge. Now, my coaching's not just about making sure you're doing the right things and training at the right time. I also focus on nutrition. Now, I've been in this industry for over 20 years and I've studied nutrition from day dot. And I continue to study nutrition with some of the best in the industry. And I class myself as an evidence-based educator to make sure that I support my cyclists that I coach and make sure they're doing the right things to get in shape without doing crazy things and following the misinformation that you see out there that makes people eat the wrong things, have bad relationships with food, and potentially are going to be quite harmful. I think the cool thing to get across is that at Velo Performance, none of us are pro cyclists. We cycle and train because it's a shared passion and we want to get as fit as we can, get as fast as we can, be as healthy as we can. And my aim as a coach is to make sure that the cyclists that I work with are the best people they can be on and off the bike. So, how do I deliver training? Now, this is a really good example of what I can see in Training Peaks. Now, Dan is a busy man. He's got a very busy business and a young family, and he needs to make sure that he juggles family life, business, and training around. So quite often I have to move things to make sure that they fit. But let's look at what I can see in Training Peaks. So over the summer months, Dan and I were chatting about his training, and he was saying to me, I don't really want to do stuff on the turbo, which I totally understand. So we said, look, get outside, follow the training as much as you possibly can. And he's just done that. When I look into this training session, so hill reps, different durations, so 4 minutes and then 8 minutes, I can analyze what he's done. And you can see that he's done what I've planned him, and I can drill down even further. So I can pull this together and I can see what he's done over those 8 minutes. And he's held a normalized power of 295, which is what I'd actually planned him to do. And he's done a really good job. So I can feed back to him on that particular session and say, look, great job. Now, here's the other thing. When you look at Training Peaks, I've moved things around a little bit, and this is quite cool. So you can see some of the feedback that I've given him. So You can see here, look, Dan, top work training this week. It's been piping hot, so it's great to see the training ticking over. Awesome. Those little notes are really cool for my cyclists to see. They realize that I'm keeping an eye on what they're doing, and it keeps them super motivated. And just for anybody looking in and trying to figure out why I'm planning this way, Dan's had some issues on the bike. Now we know that something's not right with his knee, so we went to go and see a bike fitter, and the bike fitter turned around to us and said, look, go and see a physio because the bike fit he's had previously wasn't quite right and it's caused some imbalances. So we've spoken to the physio, created a strength training program to make sure that it works for him and trying to iron out the imbalances, which is why over the summer months he's been focusing religiously on strength training with the leg extensions and knee and glute focuses within his strength training that I've written him to make sure that we get rid of this imbalance and getting back on his bike, and I'm working really hard. The other thing is, the bike fitter said after you'd done bike fitting, you didn't want him to do too much intensity, and tempo was about as much as he wanted us to put into the training session. So with that in mind, went away, wrote some very straightforward tempo training sessions for Dan to do. But the idea was to make training a bit more interesting, but also allow him to keep as much of his fitness as he could while we rehab the knee. So the cool thing about Training Peaks is I can give feedback in training sessions and write little notes in them for my cyclists to keep them focused and help them stay super motivated. How much support do I give? Communication is key for me to make sure that my cyclists that I work with stay focused and understand their training a lot better. And the great thing about Training Peaks is I can actually look deeply into what they've been doing in training and give them real-time feedback to a training session that they did that day. For longer, more in-depth conversations, my cyclists email me. Now, I find this is a great way to communicate with them, as I can and they can take time to sort of think about what they want to talk about, and I can take time to respond fully with all the links and attachments that could be super helpful for them to understand even more about their training. Each month I have a video or a phone call with the cyclist that I coach, and that way we can get in depth about what's going to happen next in their training, what we need to focus on, why we're focusing on it. And it's a really cool way to sort of get to know my cyclists and then to get to know me better so we can create a better relationship. I also have a Facebook private Velo Performance members page, and actually this is a really cool hub to sort of pull everybody together no matter where they are in the world. The great thing about that is that all my cyclists that I work with, they can ask questions freely in there and feel like they're going to get a really good qualified response to it. And it's a cool place for me to put in evidence-based articles that I've read, or for some of the videos and articles that I get sent to me from some of the people that I work with and pay money for to help my cyclists understand even more about nutrition and training. So actually it's quite a really cool learning hub for everybody that's in Velo Performance. And actually this is the thing that I think that really changes the game from my coaching practice to other people's coaching practices. A lot of people just don't have this one-stop shop for people to feel comfortable to ask those questions and know that the information that they're getting is as evidence-based as it can be and as up-to-date as it can be. And it's a really cool way for my cyclists to meet each other online. So when they meet each other face to face, now that will happen because I run 1 or 2 camps a year, whether that's in Girona or Banyoles or out in Mallorca. Because they've spoken to each other on the Facebook page, then when they meet each other in real time, they feel like they kind of know each other. So it breaks the ice and it makes them feel even more like a club. The common question I get asked all the time is, do I need a power meter to be coached by me? Now, the answer to that question is you don't, but it is super handy to have on because it's a really great way for me to understand what you're doing in training. But the cool thing is I write all your training sessions with power, and when you're riding outside, I write it with RPE. So if you don't have a power meter, you'll understand exactly what I'm trying to get out of you in that training session. There are a few things I need you to be pretty good at. You need to be pretty tech savvy because this is an online coaching service. So if you don't understand how things like Facebook work, Training Peaks work, and you really are a bit technophobic, this isn't going to work for you. And the other thing I think is really important for you to have is some kind of smart turbo trainer that links up to either Garmin or Zwift, or something like a watt bike. Now, the reason for this is because Training Peaks links into applications like Swift and Garmin, and that way you can follow your training plan. So if you're doing an inside training session, it will hold you to the right power numbers and it just makes your training a lot more effective. The other thing I do over the winter months is run Zwift meetups, and that's a really great way for everybody to get together at the same time and follow either the same training session or their own individual training sessions. But this is the point of having a smart turbo trainer. It's just so well set up for online training that if you don't have one, you're kind of missing out. So what does my day look like as a coach? Well, look, I'm generally up around about 6 o'clock in the morning and I'm in front of the computer by 7. Now, the first part of my day is looking at everybody's training and making sure they've hit it on point, or if they haven't been able to do it, they've left me notes in Training Peaks and I can feed back to them saying, look, this is what we're going to do for the rest of the week. I've manipulated your training plan to fit you and what your lifestyle's throwing you at the moment. Then after that, I've generally set myself some time together to either make phone calls to the athletes and cyclists I coach or do Zoom calls. A proportion of the day is set aside to make sure that I'm writing training plans at least a couple of weeks in advance for the cyclists and athletes I coach. So they know what's coming and they can manage their lifestyle to be able to fit their training into their working and family week. Another portion of my day is to set aside some time to write evidence-based blogs on nutrition and training, so that way my cyclists can understand more about nutrition, and it's generally based off what people have been speaking to me about the week previously. So I can write information that's backed up with scientific links so they can read on these later. And then after that, I'm creating content for my social media channels. So Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. There's a lot going on in the background. So there you go. It's a little insight into how I run my practice, what I do in the background to help my cyclists get the best out of their training, and also how I run things in the back at Velo Performance, because this is what I do as a living. I don't do anything else. There's no second job. If I don't do this, I don't get paid. I love what I do. It's super good fun to help cyclists get in great shape, help them understand nutrition better, help them blot out the crazy stuff that you see regularly on social media, and also to help them get in really good shape and inspire people to do more with their cycling. And that's what Velo's all about. It's not about racing, it's about being the best that you can be on and off the bike. Right, that's it for this week. If you've enjoyed this video, do me a favor, hit like. And look, if this is the first time you've come to the channel and you kind of like this video, have a look around the rest of the YouTube channel, because there's loads of different videos about training, nutrition, and some of the rides that I've done. And then do me another favor and hit subscribe. And I'll be back next week.